hello there. Welcome back to yet another podcast I'm doing. This is my third this week. 3 in a week. It's quite amazing. I'm here with Dion Wynn, who you'll know from his Dion Wynn channel. Have you changed the title of it now? Is it fully just Dion Wynn now?
I know. I decided to just like rebrand myself. Well, not rebrand myself. It was just like, I think That Movie Guy UK thing's just kind of over now. That was like the beginning of everything. Yeah. It annoyed me quite a bit because I was being referred to as That Movie Guy, and for some reason it was just annoying me. So I just said Dion Wynn, and it seems to be sticking. So that's good.
Yeah. So I would. If you know my channel, you probably know Dion's channel anyway. I mean, but if you haven't seen the channel, go see the channel. He covers a lot of the new films, a lot of the independent films you'll never. He covers them well before anyone else, probably. So the films like you probably never even heard of, you don't even know they're coming out. He'll have probably have you up 6 months before they've even released, probably because he does all the festivals. So his channel's great. It covers a lot of stuff. You will find yourself spending a lot of money because of Dion. So
only you.
I'm warning you right now.
I apologize.
And plus, he covers a lot of films that come out independent stores, which means they come out full price. So you're going to spend a lot of money if you watch the channel. But I recommend it because it covers a lot of really cool stuff, a lot of interesting stuff.
Thank you.
So, but he's been on before when we covered Cats, and he does the podcast with Hoos, the monthly podcast, which usually goes off the rails, especially with Eric on.
Yeah. Well, yes. If you and Eric are on, it makes it even worse, I think.
Yeah. But Eric, I think, is the prime person to send someone off the rails within about 5 seconds.
That's true.
Yeah.
He pokes you with a virtual stick is basically what happens.
Yeah. So here we're going to talk about director's cuts and variety of director's cuts. I mean, we started off, we're going to do something about Justice League. So we'll probably start there, then move on, because that was a Justice League and Southland Tales are the two ones that we started talking about just back and forth. And so I think they were the primary one we really started to think about it. And then we just became, let's talk about director's cuts all over because there's so many of them and some of them are great and some of them are weird. But So what was your take? I don't know your take, but it's just everyone else. What was your take on the Justice League and Southland Tales director's cuts?
Right, okay. So as some of you might know anyway, like I was a big Snyder fan way before all this kicked off anyway. And then I really wanted to see the Snyder cut because once I heard that there was a 4-hour cut of a Snyder film anyway, and let's be honest, he's one of the best at making director's cuts because it actually gives a bit more depth and actually a bit more of an actual narrative flow to his films. But once I got into that Justice League film, I was just in awe of it. I really just enjoyed the way that each character had their time to kind of like facilitate who they are and what they are. And obviously, when we talk about the Whedon cut now, it's just more of it is a pile of twonk, let's be honest.
Yeah, it's terrible.
The thing is, like, I've watched the Whedon one like maybe 5 or 6 times. Don't ask me why. I just find it easy garbage to have on while I'm doing other things. But once you go into this one, it's fascinating really how Snyder was able to like give a lot more ambivalence to who these characters were. Like when you look at Cyborg and how he was just this one-liner kind of character in the Whedon cut, and then to actually give him a bit more of a soul and a bit more purpose in the fuller version, it was just astounding. And for me, that's just the moments I really liked. And then obviously this weird Danny Elfman score that we had in the Whedon one when Junkie XL had composed most of the score for the other one was just absolutely baffling because that Junkie score is insane. You know, when they're in wherever the what the hell was the name of that nuclear place? Like the fake Chernobyl, we'll call it. You know, just when the drums are piling off. And then, do you know where that slow-mo shot of all of them are like just gliding through the air and the Batmobile's there? I just loved it. I think it's just, I find Snyder to be quite an artful director anyway. I love his use of like religious like paintings and just like Renaissance art. A lot of people find it tacky, but it just shows that he's a bit more than a dude, because he gets portrayed as just like a Michael Bay kind of guy, where
Yeah, he's more
has
ambitious
real
than Bay. He's much
yeah,
more ambitious.
he has like a lot more artistic detriment to him, and I think the Snyder Cut kind of showed that. But then if you go into Army of the Dead, it kind of just shows you how he has fun with things. And I'm assuming you've watched Army of the Dead. You had fun with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think with Snyder is that I think he needs a good writer with him. Though I think Army of the Dead showed that he's not the strongest writer. That's the biggest flaw he's got. He needs another strong writer, because you look at his best films tend to be like stuff like Dawn of the Dead, where we had James Gunn with him, and 300 helped because Frank Miller wrote the original, and we're copying that, and Justice League was a much more ambitious film. Chris Terrio wrote it with him, and it was a much more layered. He's just, I think he's a bit weak with character. But he's got a writer with him who can help him with that. He's much better.
Yeah,
you know.
When you look at the theatrical cut of Sucker Punch, you just look at it and you're just like, this is why maybe he should never work alone.
Yeah,
and bring up his own ideas. But I've heard that there's this extended director's cut coming out now, because obviously there is a director's cut on the Blu-ray, right?
Yeah, that's one I watched recently.
Yeah,
it makes a lot more sense. It does feel like there's you understand what the point is, even though you can still see there's a problem. I think this film is never going to be without problems, but it makes more sense that you feel like I get what he was going at with this now, rather than, I just felt like the theatrical felt like almost like extended trailer for what it was going to do, because it just felt like there was so much missing that you're like, what's the point? He's like, these scenes are happening, but I don't understand how they're connected, and they feel very tacky. The director's cut feels better, but there's still a lot of problems with it. But it feels like I get what he was going at. It's no longer a really terrible film. It's just like an ambitious film that's a bit flawed. But it's still a mess, but it's a more interesting mess. You get where he's going with it more. You get what the dramatic points he's trying to make with it. But it's still like a very flawed film.
Definitely.
But,
I remember going to watch that when it came out, and I took my girlfriend to see it. And it was like a warm Sunday afternoon, and we went to watch it and said, I've wasted a sunny day going to watch this. That's what she said to me when we left the film. And I was like, sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see how this ultimate cut, or whatever it's going to be called, that he's working on. Because Jenna Malone's even tweeted about it now, Unleash the Snyder Cut, of Sucker Punch. So
yeah,
I'm hoping it'll get the legs to actually come out. But that's the thing, though. I think his longer cuts always work, though. Like these director's cuts or ultimate cuts or wherever we call them. Like you look at Batman vs Superman, even that one makes 1,000 times more sense just by an extended runtime.
Yeah, it's only like 25 minutes longer, but there wasn't a lot of stuff because that original cut felt like it was starting stopping all the time. You're thinking, I was feeling there should be something else in here. Like, I know I'm missing things. Like, I mean, it's not it's one of those weird films. Like, it's a famously flawed film, but I kind of like it, even though it's very flawed.
Exactly.
And even the long cut's flawed, but I still quite like it. But I just think Superman was a lot better than the longer cut. And that's the big thing, the big problem the theatrical had was Superman just felt like he was widening a lot. And it was like, oh, shut up, will you? You're Superman. And the theatrical cut, the longer cut, it makes more sense what he is, really. And it films a chance to breathe. But it's...
Exactly.
But yeah, that does do better. I mean, my favourite of his Watchmen cuts is the longest version for everyone. Because you've got the story of the mariner trying to get back home and all the rest of it. I mean, I'm a massive fan of Watchmen and comic book. I still don't think the film delivered the same way the comic book did. There's some casting choices in that film that I think are bad, that are plainly bad, that don't work. It really cripples the film. And there's a sex scene in it that's terrible. And it's like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is Showgirls level sex scene.
Yeah, I think his needle drops are always interesting. Anyway, I think, in the back of Army of the Dead, when Zombie comes on, you're just like, why is this here? It never makes sense, but
yeah.
I do like his. I call them playlists because I don't think sometimes he knows why he's putting songs in some places.
Yeah, he's not as good as James Gunn at it. James Gunn's a lot better at it.
Yeah,
He understands that sometimes it's there for an emotional beat. It's not really there for a literal beat. Zack Snyder's a bit more literal. I had a similar experience to you actually when I took a friend to see Watchmen. They started quite Watchmen. And I'd been reading the comic for years too. And he's probably thinking, oh, shut up this bloody comic. I'll see the film. And he saw the film and he's like, what the hell is this? Like, what is it? It's like, I can tell it's ambitious, but what the hell is it? And it's like, well, you had to see read the book. It's like, there's so much going from it. But I think the longer cuts, the pace better, but they're still kind of, he is kind of a person who loves to have like images that are kind of fetishistic and too fetishistic toward like just the visuals themselves that sometimes get in the way of what he's trying to do. Like you see that being in Sucker Punch where they're doing all these things about abuse and it's all this slow motion. It's like you shouldn't do this. This doesn't work. This is wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how he like has his ideas and he sticks with them sometimes. Like I like the way that studios give him artistic freedom, but I think the problem is like maybe he just goes a bit too far, and then this is why studios kind of clamp down on him. Obviously, we know this with what happened with the Snyder Cut. They put Whedon in to kind of like calm him down and all this kind of crap. And
well, I think Whedon has no problems at the time, and Whedon was.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, you actually see the scenes that Whedon shot. The actors so far less engaged by everything. It's like they know they're having to do stuff that's garbage. It's like it's embarrassing. So it's just like they're. I mean,
I think sorry.
No. The thing is, there was a kind of contrast to this. I mean, Whedon came in and absolutely destroyed Justice League, but I would say that there's an older case of Superman 2 where Richard Lester came in when Richard Donner walked off the second one after the producers and stuff, and he wouldn't come back and shoot the rest of it. And Lester came involved, and he made a much better film than would have been made otherwise. So it can go either way. Because I mean, Superman 2 is one of my favourites, and a lot of the stuff I like is just from Richard Lester. So that's the thing where, because you see the director's cut there, the Donner cut, and it's like it's terrible. It's like, thank God you didn't do this film. It's awful. So it can happen either way, really.
It's always fascinating when it happens with directors, though, isn't it? Like when you think of the Alan Dr. Moreau, what the Richard Stanley one film could have been, and what we got are completely different. I think it's just always that kind of guessing as well, isn't it? But when you actually see the full visualization of a film once the director's gone and been replaced, it normally is a car crash. I don't think there's that many successful films that
but I think Superman 2 is a weird one because
oh, definitely.
I think it's also because Richard Lester's a better director than Richard Donner. He's a much more interesting layered director. He managed to make something of that. He could see what was good about the original material, and he managed to do interesting things with the rest of it. And with Dr. Moreau, it was a case of they got a director who was not keyed into what was attempted. Frankenheimer didn't get it. And Frankenheimer's a good director, but he did not get that material. If you look at Prophecy, it's another one. He does not get horror, or that kind of horror, the kind of cheesy horror. He does not get it. It just like doesn't work for him. It's not his bag, really.
I think the studio system is always interesting, like because when you think about it, a lot of these films have either got some kind of cult following or they are big films that usually get these kind of treatments because it's like, well, we actually need to give the fans a bit of justice. But it always seems to be a messy process as well once they come out, because clearly there are better versions of it. Like when we've talked about the Avengers a couple of times in 1998, is it?
Yeah.
The one with there's two versions of it allegedly, the theatrical cut and this extended version that actually made a bit more cohesive sense. But because people didn't like the babbling and the scientific talk, they had to cut it down, didn't they? But I
Yeah,
would love to see that. But apparently they burnt every copy of the original cut of it, which I would have loved to see. But
yeah, but that studio, I think that film was toxic behind the scenes. I think that was a disaster.
yeah.
You've also got the weird one, which is the Exorcist prequel, which is the Paul Schrader did the original. He got fired. They brought Rennie Harlan in. He shot an entire new film that was far worse than what Schrader did. They released that. Then they realized, oh god, it's a bomb. So they brought in Schrader to finish his film. And it was like, yeah, because I mean, basically, I adore the Paul Schrader version, even though it's flawed. And Rennie Harlan's version, I think, is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. It was so terrible. It's just so. And I saw them in the order they were released. So I saw the Rennie Harlan one and thought, how can you make a film this bad?
Baffling, isn't it? Like, what goes through producers' minds sometimes, I will never ever understand. It's just one of those situations, isn't it? But it's to say, but this is the thing. It's just like, you want to talk about Southland Tales.
Yeah.
Again, I generally don't mind the original cut of it, but that there's a lot more to it, because once you see Richard Kelly's director's cut of Donnie Darko, you can see that there's a bit more fleshing out. But this is the weird thing about Donnie Darko. You have two factions with that one, don't you? You have theatrical cut loyalists, or you got director's cut. I don't know which one you are, but
I like the theatrical, but I'm not like on the director's cut either. It's like I just prefer that version, but I can watch either. It's like I don't have a strong point, but I think I always find it interesting to see two different versions of something. I don't usually hate either. I usually think, well, it's interesting. You two different versions you can choose. Why get upset?
Yeah, that's the weird thing, isn't it? I mean, I think it's about an extra 16, 17 minutes the director's cut Donnie Darko is, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it adds a little bit extra to it, but it just doesn't kind of spoon feed everything to you, I guess, either. Because this is the thing about Donnie Darko. I just love that people still today are still trying to figure out what the hell this movie is about.
Yeah.
And I think both of these kind of cuts just still don't give you the answers that you need, which I appreciate.
Yeah. In Southland Tales, it's like it just feels it's more the canned cut feels more just like it just feels more natural. Because I find the actual cut feels a bit hyper and a bit annoying, and
it's definitely
get some people's nerves a bit more. I think the longer cut gives you a chance to get into the world a lot easier, and you understand the tone of it a lot easier, and I think it just works better.
Yeah, I agree. It's like that. Yeah, the hyper stylization of the original cut is just a bit too much sometimes, I think. And to be honest, like, it just feels like a movie on crack.
Yeah.
When you watch it, because you're just like, what the hell am I watching? But I think there's a nicer pace to the can cut, 1000%. Obviously there's a lot of talk about when it played at Cannes originally, and people like, oh, all the CGI wasn't finished while they were watching it and things like that. And I think probably that's like one of the main reasons why they actually had to cut it, why Richard Kelly had to cut it. But I think if you can't exactly see what the director's full visuals are going for, you're never gonna love it. Yeah. But I think if you embrace it as much as a lot of people have, then you're gonna dig it. But I think it's one of the most important films post 9/11 to come out in cinema, because it kind of encapsulates what the Bush era was all about.
Yeah, because as mood to it all, it's just under your skin type of thing. I think it's one of those films of the 80s a lot better. You've seen the canned cut. It's like, well, this is interesting. This is almost like Starship Troopers was the pre 9/11 film that was all about 9/11.
Yeah.
And this is the post 9/11 version.
Exactly.
It's just like between both of them, you get a sense of what that era was.
Yeah, exactly. That's that would be an interesting double feature. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
A video about 4 lines in Starship Troopers, because they're kind of weirdly interlinked as well, just the way they approach character and things.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. Southland Tales shouldn't work anyway, because when you talk about your casting of it, right? So you had Sean William Scott, who was known to be like a comedic actor. You had Sarah Michelle Gellar, who was desperate to become a Hollywood actress, but was just typecast as Buffy.
Yeah.
And then Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who had just done that Scorpion King movie, which was a bomb, and everybody just knew him as a pro wrestler. Like, you know, like that kind of trio
Yeah.
should not really have in your head. If you're like paying for a film, it shouldn't necessarily work. But I actually like what Kelly did there, because he literally just went, right, I'm just going to make this like biggest non-conformist film with icons in different areas of entertainment. I'm going to bring them all together, and I'm just going to fuck with your minds.
Yeah. Yeah, he's having fun, and I think a lot of film, I think if you're playful, I don't think the mainstream really likes that. I think Brian De Palma's always in trouble because he's playful when he messes with you, and I think audiences get really annoyed with that because they don't like getting messed with. It's like don't tweak my expectations and start laughing at it. I mean, look at Last Jedi. I started tweaking my expectations and they get absolutely hammered by certain fans, and it's like because they're taking their expectations so seriously, and you better live up to that. And if you're not doing that, they're getting really annoyed. And it's like, I always find it funny when you start tweaking stuff. But
well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just like my 2 cents on The Last Jedi was, it's like what Rian Johnson's intention was. It's like, right, this dynasty's gonna die. We need to accept this dynasty's gonna die because we're gonna move along now.
Yeah.
But people like, no, this is my nostalgia. This is my era. You can't do this. Luke Skywalker is going to live forever and things like that. It's like, but the thing is, we have to embrace change. If you don't embrace change, you're just going to be stuck continuously in a cycle of watching the same films over and over and over again.
And then they proved it with Rise of Skywalker, where they tried to do everything the same, and it was an unholy mess.
Exactly. Apparently, there is a longer version of it, by the way. Like,
I know, but like George Lucas has a lot to do with it, and there's a lot of like different things in it. Like actors who work in the film. Like,
it's that Disney new trilogy is hilarious, because it's amazing how some of the actors have just verbally just said, this is one of the worst experiences I've ever had making cinema. And you know, I never thought like a fandom could become so volatile. And once Last Jedi came out, and personally, I really liked Last Jedi. Last Jedi is my favorite of those 3. Yeah. It's just, it baffles me, you know, the fact that they wanted Disney to remake it and fire Rian Johnson. You know, Rian Johnson's still penned down to make his own 3 trilogy.
Yeah, that'll never happen though. That's never.
It's hilarious though. It's just like people don't realize that doesn't matter how much you harass this man, like he's still got a foot in the door at Disney.
Yeah, it's also he just likes tweaking trolls. He just likes annoying them. Like, you chose the wrong person to harass.
Exactly. Do not, like, you know, I've seen Rian Johnson at the BFI before, and he's a really short guy. It's like, you know, don't piss off a short man because he will attack you.
Yeah, he's like he doesn't care if he's having fun.
Yeah, exactly. But that's how he should be, because the thing is, like, I embraced a lot of it. But I understand, you know, Mark Hamill's come out and said that he wasn't even happy with the direction. But the minute he saw that check in front of him for, what was it, like $10 million, I think he got for that one, he was like, okay, sure, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, but he said he initially thought that, but didn't he say afterwards, once he got working on it, he started to see
that. Exactly.
Yeah, it was just like being told, oh, you're going to be a loser. Yeah. What? That was the fun of it.
You know, if you're going to be a recluse on an island for years and years, of course you're going to be a shadow of your former self.
Yeah.
You know, you've just been talking to porgs and frog nuns for the last couple of, you know.
Yeah. We should avoid going to all the Star Wars stuff because I'll get hammered for going way off topic again. But yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
But anyway, but I do appreciate the 2 director's cuts that Richard Kelly has been able to put out, though. It has, I think it's really helped people understand more about who he is as a director. But I think Southland Tales is a perfect example of a studio just giving you the blank check and giving you that, you know, pass card that you can just do whatever you want. And then if you don't keep eyes on it, something bizarre is going to happen. And then, you know, until you see that Justin Timberlake scene when he's singing,
Yeah.
that's when you know this movie is beyond the norm.
Yeah, which is actually one of the things you think, I love this, because I don't even like Justin Timberlake as a singer, but it's such a great scene.
No, exactly. It's definitely easily one of my favorite scenes of the early 2000s in film, genuinely.
Yeah. I think Snyder and Richard Kelly are both in the kind of John Boorman territory, as they can go off and make something really weird. They've just, that's in them, you know, and sometimes that's going to happen, and you just embrace it, just like, and then get them to do something more normal afterwards. It's just like, the sound directors all like that, and you just try and embrace it. It's just like, but you're never going to fix them.
Yeah, Snyder's a big fan of Boorman anyway, so he's always stated that. So
also the music sign, the music when they open the safe and I'm the Dead. That's pure Boorman, because it's the same.
Yeah, exactly.
As Find the Holy Grail.
Yeah, God, you're just throwing revelation after revelation at me today.
Yeah. So we should talk about Kingdom of Heaven. You want to talk about Kingdom of
Heaven? Hell yeah, let's talk about Kingdom of Heaven. I think this is one of the best director's cuts out there. This is one of my personal favorites because it just makes a lot more sense.
It makes sense because there's it's one of those films you genuinely do feel like there's an hour missed when you watch the film. It's like, this film just feels bitty and weird.
Yeah.
And then you see the director's cut and it's like, oh, that makes sense now.
So much, it's just logic. I like, especially in a film like Kingdom of Heaven, which looks at Crusades, you know, I think a bit more prevalence to the story. It gives it a bit more richness as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I just loved it. And also the characterization, like you actually get to understand a bit more of the purpose of what they were doing.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, this isn't the only Ridley Scott director's cut there is out there.
Yeah.
But I personally think it's one of the stronger ones. But this is the thing about Scott, I think, is that he knows where he has to lay the line when it comes to a theatrical cut, I guess. But I don't know if he has it in his contracts that he's allowed to do director's cuts, but I appreciate the director's cuts from him.
Yeah, I think he keeps good with the studios, so they don't really mind giving director's cuts compared to other directors who go to war with them. I think as long as they know that they're in for a long haul with him, I don't give him director's cut. I'll keep him happy. That's fine. And then everyone saw that the Kingdom of Heaven director's cut was much better, and so that became the de facto cut on home video.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think we realised, we messed up. Why bother releasing the other cut? Like, why bother? Yeah. No one cares.
Yeah, I did read a while ago. Apparently, it was just like there was one test screening they did of the film, and because of that one test screening, that's why they panicked. The thing is like if you don't shop it around with different audiences in different territories, you're never going to know if it's going to work or not. So Scott actually then had to cut about 45 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Because of one audience. It's crazy. I think the thing is, obviously, studios do fear the audience because it's the paying public that gives them their money back and gives them the profits that they want.
Yeah.
But if you don't do the work properly, films like Kingdom of Heaven are just never going to work. And as we've said, it's just a vastly better film because of it. And people forget about that theatrical cut. I don't think I've watched the theatrical cut since it came out.
Yeah. There's another director's cut I quite like of Ridley Scott's. It's the Legend International cut.
Oh, okay. I've never actually watched the theatrical. I didn't realize there was
one. Two different scores.
Yeah,
they're both kind of weird, but the international cut's longer. And it just makes more sense. I mean, Legend is always going to be a flawed film. Legend has lots of stuff in it. It's like it's one of those things the director went a bit mad and did things that he probably shouldn't have done. But the longer cut does feel more like a film, really.
Yeah.
I was quite pleased they released it. But now usually they release both cuts on the discs on like Blu-ray and stuff now, so it's just a normal thing. Everyone just realizes that just release both cuts on the same disc, it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. So speaking of Scott then, shall we go to 1982? So, which one do you prefer? The theatrical 117, the director's cut 116, or the final cut 117?
I'm not a massive Blade Runner fan.
Neither am I. That's the joke. But I think it's just always.
I like
always
the
the
versions without the voiceover and with the
Mm.
darker ending. I prefer those ones because I think it's more consistent. But I don't mind the theatrical cut. You still get the mood of it. It's still like a stupid ending, though. The
Yeah.
funny thing was, I have a story with this one was I was a film student when that came out, when the director's cut came out. So I actually, it says I was in Sheffield and I didn't come to Sheffield for a little bit. So I was just visiting friends up in Edinburgh at the time, like one weekend, and it was in Edinburgh. So I was the first, even though I was not a Blade Runner fan, I was the person who'd seen the Blade Runner director's cut well before anyone else had. And I wasn't even a fan. It was really annoying to everybody that I'd actually seen it and they hadn't.
Baffling. That's the thing. It's just like I've sat through Blade Runner a couple of times. I've watched all three versions. It's just I've never had that connection that some people have with it.
Yeah.
I do prefer 2049. I will be bluntly honest with you. Like I appreciate the importance of Blade Runner, but I don't really like the film that much. But I've always found it hilarious how people have kind of dissected all three of these cuts, and they always have like different opinions. But I'm with you, really. I think the voiceovers really help the narrative.
Yeah.
Because if it's not there, you kind of forget about what it's really all about.
But I quite like the lack of narrative. I like it floaty a bit more. I like it floaty, and you interpret yourself. So I probably prefer the other cuts, but I'm still not the biggest fan because I'm a fan of the book they're based on. I think they cut out so much of the book in that first film, and bizarrely, the second film actually took the tone of the book a lot more, which is why I like the second one because it feels more like the actual book of the first one than. So it's like, but I've always done this weird thing with that film. Is like I appreciate it, but I just don't love it. I mean, give me 2001 any day, really.
Yeah.
At least with the thing of 2001 or Blade Runner, I was like 2001. Come on.
Yeah, 1000%. I think 2001, not just as a Kubrick scholar, but it's a better film.
It's a better film.
Yeah, but going into Kubrick then. Since we're sticking to the theme today.
Yeah.
We don't want comments. We'll go Shining then. American cut, 144, or the European cut is 119. Which one's your favorite?
The American cut.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Why people say the European cut is better, I don't know. I think the American cut adds that extra level of freakiness that the film requires.
The British cut is leaner, and it is a good film, but I just think the longer cut, the one with just more detail with the doctors and stuff, it just feels better paced, and you're going slowly into madness a lot more. It is creepier and weirder, and it's not about it. It's on your skin more. So that was the first test I saw as well, because I saw on TV, and it was like it just worked better for me.
Yeah,
but I don't get the British cut. Thought it was it's not.
It took ages for it to come out on Blu-ray in Europe, though, as a.
But the thing is, the 4K is just the American cut. It's not the British cut.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just American cut. It's like that's
as it should be.
That's now the de facto cut. Really,
there is the thing that I understand with The Shining, and this is what I've been told before, is that there's one of the main reasons that Kubrick actually cut it down quite a bit was because of the backlash he got with Clockwork Orange. While he had a lot of issues with violence in the UK, which was correlated with that film, he felt like sometimes he was maybe pushing the boat too much. So that's why the two cuts existed, because he was scared of the BBFC like butchering the film itself, so he'd rather just give them two editions. So rather than him being told what to do, he did what he did, and then these two cuts just existed. But
he never mentioned which one he preferred himself. He just let them happen.
No. I've actually asked Jan Harlan, who's the producer of the film, like, which one, and he won't tell me. He won't even tell me which one he likes, which annoys me.
I know, whatever one it becomes the de facto cut then, and it's like,
yeah, that's the problem. And obviously the Kubrick estate and Warner's have like benefited vastly because of having two separate versions of it. But I still remember, like in like 2010, I still hadn't seen the American cut. My friend went to America, and I told him, "Bring me a copy of The Shining from America with you." And then that was the first time I watched it, and I was like, "Wow, this is significantly better."
Yeah, no,
and
it used to be it played once or twice on TV, and I recorded it on TV. That was the first version I saw. And then for years, I had to suffer through the other cut, and now it's become much more like, oh, you can see both cuts now. It's fine.
Yeah,
I think I've loosened up now. I think I'm just like, it's two cuts, fine. Just take whatever one you want. It's, we're making money anyway, no matter what format it is. You've released a Shining, it's going to be a fortune, so why bother?
Exactly. I personally do like it. I think probably The Shining is the film that I've seen the most, like, out of any Kubrick film, even though I do prefer Eyes Wide Shut, but it's just the one that I love rewatching because I find it to be the more entertaining version.
Yeah.
Like the more entertaining film of his kind of like collection.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have a variety of ones. It depends on my mood. I mean, my favourite is Barry Lyndon, actually. It's my favourite. It just something about it just gets under. It's just wonderful for me. I adore that. But for entertainment value, I'm at the moment I'm going towards Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah, I really grew like a stronger appreciation for Strangelove. I was in a conference in Holland, and we screened it in the cinema, and there was a full house of Dutch people and a few people from different universities across the world, and there's a full house just watching this film, and we just laughed our heads off and just had a good time with it. I totally forgot like how well the satire works on that.
Yeah, I think it's easy to underappreciate that. I think that's what I'm into just now. It'll change next year probably. It's that thing is
it
could be filmed. It always changes, but I mean, for a long time it was 2001. At the moment, Barry Lyndon. But I know Barry Lyndon's one of those films. See if some people love it, some people don't. But for me, it's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
Something about it just gets to me. It's just.
I do appreciate. I appreciate Barry Lyndon quite a bit, but it's just, I don't know. I've just never like fully connected with it. It's just I've said it repeatedly. It's not one of my least favorite Kubrick films, but it's just the one sometimes I just don't understand why it's as popular as it is.
Yeah, you don't get it, you don't. It's one of those things. Some films get to you, and some films don't, and that's the kind of weird one that people either get or don't get, and it just that's just it.
Nah, I know what you mean. It's
so
just
good you can meet those kind of films.
Yeah, I think one day it'll click with me.
Yeah.
I just don't know when. I'm still waiting for that when moment, but it's been a while. I couldn't even tell you the last time I watched it. It's been a couple of years at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's stop going off topic. Don't do it.
I've got a question for you. Apocalypse Now, which version?
I was actually going to go there now. It's hard. I quite like Redux,
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Redux. A lot of the purists don't like Redux, but I really like Redux.
No, I don't get it. It was the first version I saw because I think it came out on Blu-ray or DVD or something at one point, and I was just like, I kind of want to watch this now. I watched it and I was like, I really like this. I don't know, there's just something about it, but this is the thing about Apocalypse Now. I just love the whole story of how Coppola made that film. It's just, Heart of Darkness is one of the best like documentaries about filmmaking you can ever watch in your life. And then anytime I watch Apocalypse Now, then it's just, I always admire the film even more, and it doesn't really matter which cut I watch. Have you got that set with all three versions? Have you?
No, I've got two different versions. I've got one with the original one, the Redux and DVD, the old one, and I've got the new, just the disc, the 4K of the final cut. I much prefer the the original and Redux to the final cut. The final cut is just a combination of both cuts, and it's just not as good.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Like, a lot of people will tell you like the final cut is the definitive cut, but I disagree really, because as you said, it's just two cuts spliced together. What's the point of it? And I think with Coppola, he's worked on all three of these cuts. So, and this is the interesting thing, as a director, when you go back to your older films, what you could have done with it at that time and how your ideas change is always interesting. So, like, to see all three of these is to see his process as time has gone by, which is quite fascinating.
Because I don't get why you think the film cut is the best version. I just found it emotionally disengaging in a way that the other two cuts, I was always involved, I was always there with what was going on. In this cut, I just feel distance because it's not one thing or the other. It's like I'd rather watch them.
Have you got them on 4K or?
No, I've only got the new one in 4K. The other two are in Blu-ray. But I saw I've seen both the Redux and the original on the cinema. So, and I've got the first two versions are much better for me. They just feel like they're.
I've seen the theatrical in the cinema, and I've seen the final cut in the cinema because we played them 2 different times. But I still would like to see the Redux one.
Yeah, Redux one is really, really good. I saw it in a double bill with Ali in the cinema.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's nice. No, I think
that was a long day.
I can imagine. It's just like sitting through a film that length anyway. Was it 193 minutes? I think the Redux is. It's the longest. So it's going to take it takes a lot out of you. But I think once you're kind of in that zone with that film, it just doesn't really go. It doesn't let you go either.
I think the theatre films, there's a one pace to them, so you just let it flow over you. So if you watch one, you can watch another one quite easily.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
I obviously it was. I had a funny feeling that we'd be talking about Apocalypse Now.
Yeah,
I think in many ways, I think it's like the ultimate definition of how director's cuts can like kind of change a film for the good sometimes, but for the worst also.
Yeah, I've got a film that actually has 3 different cuts as well. I can't remember the kid. Have you seen any of those cuts?
Interesting.
Because I'm a fan of the Turner cut, the one showing the Turner thing, which was it was a cut that Sam Peckinpah made before he got fired, before they did a theatrical cut of it, and then we went years later and did a other cut that was said this was the definite cut, which was based on his notes and stuff, where he changed from that original cut.
Interesting.
And I didn't like that version because it kept on starting and stopping. It was like, no, there's no way Peckinpah would have had that version. There's no way he would have.
Yeah.
He's too good an editor to have that. And he just was like one of those things was just finish off the Turner cut and just do it because it's a much more melancholic, beautiful film. And it's just a weird thing where there's no proper cut of that film. They try and make one, they failed horribly.
Interesting. I couldn't even tell you which cut I've seen of it, to be honest with you. But I used to watch those kind of movies with my granddad years ago. But
but it is just a weird one where they actually did it kind of is like the final cut, Apocalypse Now final cut, where it's got lots of notes and stuff, but it's unengaging because it's like it's almost mechanical how they're doing it, and it doesn't feel like the work of that director. It just feels like they've not understood the pace nor the director.
That's true. Okay, I'm gonna add that to my list because I'm intrigued now. Okay.
There's with Orson Welles with Touch of Evil. That's
Touch of Evil, yeah. Which one? That's the bigger question. Which one do you prefer in Touch of Evil?
I like whatever version of Touch of Evil I can get. To be honest, I kind of prefer the one with we get the one Walter Murch did. I prefer that one, but I'll take this film. Whatever I can get a version, I'll take, but I prefer the Walter Murch one based on his notes. Because it feels that Orson Welles had written specific notes of things he would change and things he wanted in a way that felt much more like the director of that time, really. And he just followed it.
Which cut is on the Masters of Cinema?
both. There's the
Both on it,
and
right?
the ultimate one.
I think I do like the director's cut. I like it's a bit more, I don't know, a bit more impressionistic on me. But
Yeah,
I think the thing is, like, it doesn't matter which one you watch of that film. You know, the opening scene is just what kind of sells it straight
yeah.
away.
And it's
Yeah,
weird.
once you're in it, it's just fascinating.
Yeah, it's almost like a film that's saying screw you to the people who
Yeah,
made it. It's just
even with the dodgy Charlton Heston as a Mexican.
yeah, just weird.
It's just the mustache and whatever kind of fake tan they put on his face, and the shiny white teeth are just hilarious. But
Yeah,
never was sold on him as a Mexican. But
no, but it
I'm
works
sure
for what it is.
I'm sure in his later years he would have told you how much he hated Mexicans, also probably. So being the hardcore Republican he was.
Yeah,
Again, but it's just even Janet Leigh in that film. I think it was like I really like her performance in that film, along obviously with Wells. I think it's one of my favorite Wells performances, like, ever. It's up
yeah,
there with Falstaff.
yeah. It's wonderful.
Mm.
So the best is James Cameron's kind of one that started a lot of these director's cuts, really.
Yeah.
But
Which one? Aliens?
in the best, the two kind of early ones,
Yeah.
really.
That's called this. Was it the special edition cut? Is it called something like that? Yeah, I think it's called special edition, right? I think I had it in my notes somewhere. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
I always bring cheat sheets with me to these things because sometimes I get caught off guard. Yeah, special edition cut and theatrical cut. So the theatrical's 137, the special edition's 154. I don't know if there is like a better one or a superior one. I think it's always kind of. I think the theatrical one's a bit more suspenseful and a bit tighter, maybe.
yeah,
But I kind of don't mind this other version that
yeah.
everybody seems to be excited about.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
the best works better. The longer cut of the best works a lot better than the theatrical because that was a film that needed the longer version to make sense of certain things. Well,
Yeah,
you don't really need it. It's like it's nice to have those scenes, but it's not necessary.
that's
The
true.
the best you actually need that ending to actually make sense of what's going on. Because I watched the theatrical one a few weeks ago. I'm about the rising waves. The end doesn't make sense. It just is like,
No.
yeah, what happened? So,
Yeah.
so that's why I actually need a longer cut. But
But that's the weird thing about the Alien franchise, though, is that there is longer cuts available for most of them. Even Alien 3,
Alien
got
3
the
is a better one.
assembly cut, right?
Yeah, it's
Which
much
is
better. It's more
yeah.
moody.
It's crazy. It is crazy to think like Fincher almost quit filmmaking because of his experiences on Alien 3, though. That's the saddening part of that for me.
Yeah,
Poor guy. But I would be interested. Like, I obviously a lot of people say that this assembly cut is like the definitive version of it, but it still would have been interesting to see what Fincher's final version of it would have been, because he didn't even take part in the assembly cut either, did he? Just
I know, but
refused.
Terry Rollins, who was his editor in
Yeah.
the film, even back put the stuff in, they would have kept in, and I think he gave them a blessing to let people see what their vision of the film was. And it's just so much better because it gives you time to breathe, and the theatrical cut just seems so quick and so
Yeah.
Even though
I think
it's
such
just
a cold film, though, isn't it? I think the theatrical version is just it's just so hollow.
yeah,
It just doesn't have that kind of like alien feel to it at times. But,
yeah, it just feels it's been gutted,
yeah,
and
yeah,
the other version just feels better. It just feels like it's
yeah,
warmer and it's
yeah.
more interesting, and Paul McGann has stuff to do in that one.
It's just, I don't know. I do scratch my head with that one because, potentially it could have been a stronger film if they would have just stuck to their guns with Fincher and not been a twat to him. But
Yeah, Yeah, but like the behind the scenes stuff shows that it was war with everybody. Everybody was at war with each other, and it's like
Yeah.
bizarrely, I mean, Alien 3 is still one of my favorite Fincher films, even though it's very flawed. It's just like there's so much of him in there that's the good stuff he does.
Yeah.
But that
Exactly.
the funeral sequence is amazing.
Mm.
There's so much great stuff in there, and there's other stuff that doesn't work. But it's like, what's his first film, and he made some mistakes he would make in the future.
Well, yeah, mate, you live and you learn, as they say.
I think people forget it's his first film, and he made mistakes as well. And I'm sure not everything he did was great either.
Yeah,
so,
but that's the thing. He just is like he just doesn't talk about it at all. That's the thing. He just moves along from that question. It's not in his mind. It's not his first film anymore. I think Seven is his. He considers that to be his directorial debut, even though it's clearly not. But,
that's directors for you. They're weird.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you just have to embrace it. But I think to give such a young filmmaker and quite a popular, video music producer, a video music director, like that kind of free reign to make one of the biggest potential trilogies ever. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is it is better than Piranha 2.
That's true.
You've got. I mean, that's James Cameron's debut. Yes.
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird that how that one just got a new release. Was it last year?
Yeah.
David Cameron. James Cameron will do anything for money, though, won't he? Got to fund those Avatar movies that he'll still be making after he dies.
Yeah, it's Avatar's weird. Do you think? Because it feels like a one-off movie. You think, right? It's just sequels.
Yeah, exactly. The thing I get with James Cameron is once he becomes obsessed with something, he kind of just goes at it a bit too much. Because it's funny because he's always said this before. Titanic was a side project to Avatar.
Yeah,
Titanic is his most well-regarded film, even though he's made some of the biggest blockbuster films ever.
Yeah,
but for a side project that is probably one of the last classic Hollywood films to ever be made.
Yeah.
He doesn't give the film that much credit. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Avatar also has a director's cut. It's a longer. Yes. I still like the longer cut better than the theatrical cut because it fills in little things and it's better paced.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think again it just comes down to him being able to add the extra detail that some people want. I've only ever watched the Avatar, the longer director's cut of Avatar once.
Yeah.
And I appreciated it a lot more than I did the theatrical cut. I think the way they marketed that film anyway was just insanely over the top and just saying this is going to be the greatest thing you'll ever see, blah, 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 blah. But again, it is the highest grossing film of all time again now because they re-released it in China.
Yeah. I was lucky. I saw something in IMAX when it came out, Avatar.
Yeah. I saw it Boxing Day when it came. I saw it on the Boxing Day after it came out in 3D, and I had the biggest hangover of my life. And do you know the dust cloud scene, and then the dust comes out at you in 3D? I was just my body cannot deal with this right now. It was just
yeah. I saw it in IMAX 3D, so it was massive.
Oh my god, yeah, I can imagine. Still an amazing experience. It is one of those cinema experiences that you just don't forget, but it's just I don't necessarily appreciate the Avatar film.
Yeah, it's actually much more of a silent film kind of experience more than a modern film. That's the thing it's about. It's much more akin to King Kong than it is to modern films. So you have to I'm probably going to watch it in my projector at some point in the near future just to see what it's like in a big thing. See, again.
I think it should be titled in your "What the hell is this about?" Video catalog Avatar.
Yeah, I need a different title for this one. James Cameron goes mad with $1 million.
When you give a man too much money and what he makes, or something, I don't know.
Yeah, that's about half his career.
Yeah, or you should call it "When Tyrant Filmmakers Attack."
Yeah, that could be quite good.
But another Cameron one.
Doing crazy directors with way too much money.
Another Cameron's we're talking is Abyss, I guess, because I think next. Sorry,
talked about that already.
have we?
Yeah, I talked about the wave. She obviously went and listened.
I think I was just talking so much. I just never forget.
Oh yeah, the best is a very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Terminator 2.
We haven't had a full discussion about it though. Or have we? I don't remember what we've talked about now.
Yeah, we did. We talked about it.
Jesus Christ. My brain, right? I apologize to everybody for this. But, yeah, we have. Oh shit! Yeah, we did. Sorry.
Yep.
Apologies.
So yeah,
Okay.
there is director's cuts that are not good though. They ruin the film and they become the director's cuts. That's another thing that is a problem.
Where are we starting with this then?
Amadeus.
Amadeus. Wow. Yeah, I've heard a lot of bad things about it. I've speckled through it. But...
Yeah, no, it's just it takes a film as the right length and makes it longer, and you just feel it feels suddenly just like, oh god, like, this film used to be really light in its feet, and now it's just a slog. And that's now the cut you can only see, and it's like, give us the theatrical cut of this one. That's a much better film. This is ridiculous.
Is there no like standard DVD of it from back when?
I don't know, but probably terrible condition. But they need to have both cuts in a Blu-ray or something. It would be the better way to do it.
Crazy. It's because it's on is it the HMV premium one?
I don't know. I've seen it in DVD. I haven't watched it in Blu-ray because it was so terrible.
Oh god, I'm just trying to think now. But if you want to talk about a bad one, I think was it T2 Judgment Day? That there's a longer version of that as well. That's a bit weird, isn't it? It's got like an extra 15 minutes.
I like that version better than the original.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just paced a bit better. I thought the original was a bit too fast paced.
Oh really?
Stretch bit version more.
I'm not a bit. I don't know. I'm not a big T2 fan anyway.
Yeah.
But there's something about it that I think it just drags it out a bit longer. But
it just depends your taste though. That one, I guess a taste one though. I can see people not liking it because it's too long, but I think we can both agree it's a lot better than Dark Fate. Whatever version.
Yeah, that's true. We can agree on that one. Yes, 1000%. But what others have you got on your list? Because I've not even thought about that many bad director's cuts. I'm trying to think off the top of my head now.
I mean, the obvious one to go is the Star Wars stuff.
Oh.
Which I don't actually mind, but I do have the original theatrical version from eBay as well, just to have the original.
Was that the one that those people made over like years?
Yeah. That one, yeah. Because I mean, it does affect pacing having those Jabba the Hutt scene in it. It does detrimentally affect pacing. But the Return of the Jedi one, I don't really care about that much, really, because it's like, well, I don't even notice the differences aren't really that big a deal in that one.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about Return of the Jedi, isn't it? I think it's just one of those films that people just it's too sugar coated anyway, so you would just never notice the differences.
Yeah,
but even though the director's Welsh, so I should be, supporting. The director is Richard Hughes. He's from Wales.
Background.
You have to wave the flag for our fellow Celtic brothers, even though he's passed away now.
Yeah, it's like it was never one of my favorites, the Star Wars films. Anyway, but yeah, I never really minded just changing that one. The original Star Wars, adding the Boba Fett scene, just Jabba the Hutt scene, just as it just slows the pace down. When the films get moving, they stop suddenly, and it's like that's what I object in director's cuts when they stop the pacing by suddenly adding a scene that don't really need it, and it just becomes an irritating, really just annoying. Like, why is it there?
So that's the weird thing, is it in New Hope, between those two versions, is that you've obviously got, it was just a guy, wasn't it, talking to Han when they buy the by the Millennium Falcon originally, isn't it?
Yeah,
And then he added
Jabba the
the
Hutt.
Jabba, which wasn't even there.
Yeah,
It's just weird things like that. It just changes, isn't it?
well, I think they cast someone as Jabba the Hutt, but it was
Yeah.
a guy, and then Lucas didn't want
Yeah.
a guy.
Just a fat guy.
Yeah, and so they changed it, but it was like, it doesn't get away the fact that you don't need to see it in the first place.
Yeah.
Seen in the cantina with Guido when he shot him, and it's like, you don't need that.
No. But it's just like even in you see a lot of comparison videos on YouTube, and you just see when they go towards the cantina, and you just see how many things Lucas added on to just make it look a bit more grand than what it is. It's just so unnecessary, very unnecessary. But
Yeah, I mean, and they always have this thing about Return of the Jedi, about having the Force Ghost. They changed Anakin Force Ghost at the end to link it to the prequels. And it was like, I remember seeing that film in the cinema, and when you saw the Force Ghost of Anakin near the old guy, you're thinking, no, that's that old guy. Like, it's like they're complaining about something that didn't work in the original, and now they've connected it to the prequel so that anyone who sees them now, it makes some sort of flow of story sense. It's like, what actually makes more sense that way that does this old guy who you've never seen before, who does not look or resemble Darth Vader at all. And it's like, you're changing, it's a replacement that actually makes sense, and it's like, still whining about it. And it's like, because I remember in the cinema, and everybody looked at the old guy and went,
Probably would have just made more sense to have Darth Vader just in Jedi gown with a helmet on.
Yeah.
Maybe people would have noticed.
It was one of those things that was just weird when the original came out. It was a weird thing. It's like everyone's complaining like that didn't work. And now they change it, and it's like, oh, you've taken away from the perfection of the original. It's like, it was never a good scene.
Well, I think probably Return of the Jedi is a lot of people's like least favorite Star Wars films. Anyway, it's like for some people, it's as low as Attack of the Clones for some people.
Yeah, it is a kind of weaker one. But when I watched it again in 4K, I actually rose up my estimations quite a bit just because I hadn't seen it for a while, and I was like, well, this is Bob better remember.
Yeah.
But
so if you were to if you had to pick a film that hasn't got a director's cut but could benefit from it, then what would you go for?
This is the easiest one ever.
Oh God, is it?
It's an Ambersons.
Well, yeah, that's very, very true.
I mean,
that ain't gonna happen though.
I know, but that's the easy one. If someone can magic it up, that's the easy one. But honestly, most director's cuts now is like, do we really need them? Usually it's like, it's only you hear about a terrible production, you think, okay, I'd like to see what the director would have made of it. But a lot of time, you know, it's not going to be that good anyway. So it's like, I'm actually much more interested in cuts from directors from like Asia who have alternative cuts to their films.
Yeah,
like, I'd love to see like alternative cuts of Sion Sono films or something, see what else he was going to do that he took out and stuff like that. More like that than any kind of blockbuster thing.
Because there is a longer version of Love Exposure from Sono as well, isn't there? But I've never seen it. Isn't it like 6 hours or something like that? That's
okay,
like
let's say Love Exposure is my choice.
Yeah, okay then. Yeah, I think definitely Love Exposure would be an interesting one because I could easily just sit there and watch that for 6 hours straight anyway. But right now I couldn't even think of like a longer version of a film that I'd want. I just try to avoid bad films, and like you, because you just go for them. But
I'm a longer version of Thin Red Line, Malik one, because apparently there's a lot of stuff cut out.
Yeah,
that could be interesting if we want to make it. But it's like, does he want to even do that? Maybe they'll cut.
Release what was it called, the Brody cut?
Yeah. But then again, maybe it was rubbish. Maybe the reason he cut it out was it didn't work.
Yeah, it's interesting. What was it? Thin Red Line's 95, right?
It was shot at 98 or something, 97, 98, and it was released in 99.
Yeah. So it was just like a couple of years before he made The Pianist, so just as he was probably going into making Pianist. So he wasn't like the name that he was. Yeah,
but then Adrian Brody's an actor who comes and goes in projects. Sometimes he's really good, sometimes he's not.
Weird, isn't it?
Maybe he wasn't that good in that part, and maybe they just thought, okay, we're going to cut this
Yeah.
out. It does not work.
I haven't seen him in a good film since like 2012. Did you see a film called Detachment with him in it as a teacher?
I haven't seen that one.
Really good. It's from the director that made American History X. It's really good.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people haven't seen it, but it's I think it's like the last good film he made. But yeah, he very very weird career after the Oscars. Obviously, he did Kong after that, but
yeah,
it's kind of like probably the biggest film he made after that. And it's just
yeah. When you say 2012, I was thinking, is he going to say Predators?
Predators. No.
Release the Predators director's cut. The 10 minutes more gore.
I'm surprised you didn't say that you wanted the butthole cut of Cats yet. To be honest with you,
I was leaving that for you.
Oh, too kind. You're too kind. Yeah, I think it would be hilarious. It's never gonna happen, but
no, but it's always fun. Yeah. It's a better as a joke than it ever would be in reality.
Yeah, because who wants to look at? Yeah, who would like to look at cat anuses? I don't really know, unless you're into bestiality, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I would like to actually see the Rise of Skywalker, the other cut that was
yeah.
Better. But I'm feeling the one with Matt Smith in it before they brought Emperor Palpatine into it, and I don't think it'd be very good. I think it would just be another weird cut, but I would be just out of curiosity to see what, because there's meant to be lots of stuff shot for that, like what's not in it. I mean, apparently Hayden Christensen back in that one for his Ghost Anakin.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing that to see what they did, but
yeah. The weird thing was Disney did say that they want, because obviously it made good money, but they wanted more money. But they did say that they were going to release it last year, but because of the pandemic, they kind of like pushed back, and there's not been much talk about it now. But it would be interesting because, you know, the ending of that film is just so rushed.
Yeah,
and obviously that the last line is just, yeah, I can't even describe how I felt when I heard that. I just laughed.
Yeah, I have a feeling maybe once the current administration's out, they might release something. Maybe with
it has to. I think as well, because Abrams has like still quite a big pull in Disney.
Yeah,
I'm sure he can get it out there, and I'm sure they would like to bankroll a bit more cash out of that film. Because
I think the general feeling was he gets screwed over, but who knows what actually happened. But I think the feeling was that there was a lot of stuff shot that wasn't used, and they were like, the actors were saying, "Why was that not used to be shot all this stuff?"
Yeah.
So
it's bizarre, isn't it? Because that's the thing as well. You don't really get actors telling you if they were like, if things were cut out or anything anymore, because they're quite strict with that thing. But that's I think that's the interesting thing about fandom now, is that fandom can get these cuts out there. You look at the Snyder Cut kind of movement, and how they kind of bullied one of the biggest studios in the world to kind of like get this release, and then get Snyder to finish it. And get an extra $70 million on top of whatever he had already to finish that film. It's crazy.
I think because the Whedon Cut was such an atrocity, really, everyone knew it. It was like, this was not what they wanted.
Yeah, that's been the weird thing about this kind of whole process, is that Snyder's had interviews for Army of the Dead, and he is actually saying that Warner Brothers just don't like him. He's just quite blunt about it now. It just seems to be the end of it. At the minute, I don't anticipate a sequel, even though I would love to see a sequel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's whoever's in charge there don't like.
That's the problem.
That's it, and they'll try to do something new.
They just like a lot of people are saying like he might bide his time until the current head leaves, but you know, by this time you're talking about like a lot of these actors might age a little bit. So
yeah, maybe I think you could do a few years later type of story quite easily, but also the momentum's now we're gone in a few years. We'll see what else
exactly.
Years.
Yeah, and he seems to be more. Sorry.
The same with the this Rise of Skywalker thing. It's like the momentum here is now because everyone knows there was a better cut somewhere, but this is like you kind of have to wait out the people who were there at the time to see what happened.
Yeah.
But it's such a mess, that film. It's left such a bad taste in everyone's mouth. It's like, it's hard. How do you actually go beyond that film now? Because it's like, well, they've kind of ruined it. They have to do another series of films after it to try and retroactively undo all the mess.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go with it next. But
I think
yeah,
they'll use the TV shows to actually undo that mess.
yeah.
That's the only way you can really do it.
Well, they're obviously trying to keep fans happy with McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Hayden Christensen back as Anakin hashtag Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So should be, I think again, like I said earlier, it's just this kind of, I think nostalgia makes cinema a lot worse than what it can be. It just doesn't allow people to be a bit more free with source materials. It's very important.
They have to move on from that era, but because the people involved are doing a decent job with the TV stuff, they probably have to do the other stuff in films. But I mean, the Star Wars stuff, it's fine. It's not great. It's not bad. It's enjoyable. I enjoy some of it. It's like, you have to work, don't have to bother that much. It's just like, but it's just corporate stuff. That's it. You just have to know
that's the thing, isn't it? You can talk about film and like what it represents and everything like that, but then at the end of the day, it's just there to make money.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, most of the good stuff that most come from Asia. Like that's where the power's coming from at the moment. That's where the interesting films are. Yeah. America's a write-off at the moment for films. It's just they're just making corporate stuff. Other talent's going to Marvel and things like that. Why are you worried about it? It's just one of those things. Like it's not where the power is.
Yeah, should be another discussion. Well, we should do that as a discussion, maybe the state of cinema.
We've already dragged Shoes into something like this from the channel.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I think film is in a weird place right now. As studio cinema, I don't mean indie cinema. I think indie cinema does whatever it does.
What they're doing.
Yeah, really. Because how long can you churn superhero films out for? That's the big question, isn't it?
It does feel like you're getting towards the end of it. Like you just feel.
You think?
No, it feels like you're getting towards the end of what you can do with that genre. And usually genres die once. If you look at Western went to cynicism and stuff with Sergio Leone, and they're already on that level with the current superhero films.
Yeah.
There's not much more you can go there. You may have to try and let it die for a bit and then bring it back later.
Yeah, that's because if you even look at the two trailers that you've had for the new Disney films, you've got Eternals and the Shang-Chi 10 Rings film. They don't necessarily look like those usual type of films. So I don't know if this is just an evolution or it's just got to the point where we're kind of out of ideas now. This is what we're going to give you, and you're gonna like it. Yeah,
Eternals looks like they didn't really show you enough to know what it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are talking about this at the minute, but I think a lot of people are just saying that Chloe Zhao she's just too much of a Malik fanboy, which you can see it's very evident in all of her work anyway. But like, I think she has a bit more sentiment in her work. But a lot of people are just saying, like, if you look at some of the shots of Eternals, it just looks like Days of Heaven.
Yeah, well, we can need that something different.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other one, the Shang-Lao one, whatever, it looks just terrible. It looks like the most bland. It looks like something from the 80s. Yeah. One of those last Dragon rip-off things from the. You expect a Canon logo on it. It looks like
I said it to Huss already, but the only reason I'm going to go watch that film is just to see Tony Leung in a film made in the West. Really, that's the only reason I'll go watch it.
Yeah, it just looks boring. Otherwise, it's like.
Might even buy it.
I was looking forward to that kind of a kung fu action superhero movie.
Yeah.
And you see a trailer and it's like, this looks terrible. This is a TV show.
Yeah, it just seems like they've just gone for the wrong kind of approach with it, but we'll see. I'll buy it.
Weird guy on. They should have brought a really good weird Asian director on.
Exactly, that's what they should have done.
That actually would bring in all the crazy kung fu people to come and do something interesting instead of just got this kind of bland Western thing. It just looks like appeal to the West. And apparently, China there's a backlash against it because they think this is boring looking. It's like.
That just doesn't surprise me whatsoever. But yeah, the state of the world right now. Well, film anyway, but on the world as well. But that was a good chat though.
Yeah, really enjoyable. I'm glad we finally got to do it. So
Yes, sorry about that.
that's okay. I mean, it's you're busy. It's like I was saying to other people, it was just as funny because like I'd set these podcasts up and they all came the same week. Suddenly everyone's available in the same week. And it was like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's worth it. Just get it all out and it's done.
Yeah, it's just one of those funny things. Though. I mean, but it's great to talk to you again. It's always fun to talk to you.
Thank you, my friend.
And so you want to advertise your channel again before we go?
I talk about movies and I give you recommendations, and apparently I damage your bank balance.
Yeah.
My name's Dion Wynn. Is that okay?
That's right. Thanks a lot. We hope you enjoyed this, and hopefully it's turned out okay.
We stayed on topic. That's the main thing.
Yep. Yes. So bye for now. See you later.